Well, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, whatever your current life situation is. Hello, YouTube. It's Jeffrey Kite back again with another episode of Kite's Curiosities. Got a travel video brought to you today in part by Sojourney Travel. That's right, folks. Sojourney Travel, your number one source for travel anywhere in the world. Small business located right here in the state of Georgia. You can reach out to my wife, Carla Parker-Kite. She'll schedule you a visit anywhere you'd like to go. Contact her at that telephone number, 770-356-4245. You can email her too at carla.parker-kite@sojourneytravel.com or reach her on the website, www.sojourneytravel.com/Carla. Suitcases, sightseeing, so journey with us. Sojourney Travel. So today, I'm doing a little staycation while it is spring break. I'm going to venture on over into the city of Marietta, Georgia, and go to a cemetery that I've visited many times before, but have never fully explored. And that is the Marietta National Cemetery. Marietta National Cemetery, I believe the year that it was established was 1866. And there's a cool little story behind that you'll hear in the video coming up. It is a 23-acre area plot right smack in the middle of downtown Marietta, Georgia. Thousands and thousands and thousands of our nation's heroes, both famous, who did, famous things either in combat and in the wars and conflicts that they fought in, or they had a military career and did other work that was, rather famous and well known. And others are just regular people just like you and I who have gone on to serve in the military, did their time, got out and moved on. I never served in the military, but y'all know what I mean by regular people. They didn't go on to play professional sports or do some of the things that we're going to talk about in the video that you'll see today. I've never done a cemetery video before. It's something I've been kind of interested in doing. I want to give a shout out to a couple of channels that I watch, and I know they have a little rivalry to them, but I watch both of them, Lamont at Large and Faces of the Forgotten. They do fantastic cemetery videos of telling people's stories and letting their voices be heard. And I was kind of inspired by you guys, so hopefully you don't think I'm copycatting you or anything like that. And I also hope that the people who have done videos already in the Marietta National Cemetery don't think I'm trying to copycat them as well. This is just something that I wanted to do. I saw it, I was inspired by you guys, and I wanted to do a little bit different take, go maybe a little bit deeper dive on some of the people who are interned there and share the stories that I haven't seen on any other video. Some of the things you can watch my video and say, oh, I've seen that on the other one, on other videos and things like that. But there's some names and features on here that I feel deserve the attention. They deserve the recognition. They deserve their stories to be told. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find it as fascinating as I did reading about these people, researching them, their histories, their stories, their lives before, during, and after their military service. And find it interesting as I have, as it piqued my curiosity. The channel name. Piqued my curiosity about wanting to learn. As a lifelong learner, I take pride in that. And I love to learn, and I love going and visiting places and and seeing what all's out there, not just in my state, but my nation and my world. So pack your bags if you need to. Come on down to Marietta, Georgia. Sojourney Travel. Contact my wife at that information, and plan you a visit to this area. And this is one site that you can see. So come on, let's take that journey now. All right, so we are here at the Marietta National Military Cemetery. This beautiful, sprawling 23-acre lot is the final resting place of thousands and thousands of our nation's soldiers from virtually every war, every conflict that our nation has been involved in. Beautiful place, peaceful place, and one of my favorite places to come visit. Let's go inside and check it out. So this is the burial plot of Mr. Henry Green Cole Sr., the man that donated this land for the purpose of this cemetery. Quick story about Henry Green Cole. He was born up in New York in 1815, I believe is what that epitaph says. And found his way down here and was a businessman and a railroad magnate down here. And he always maintained his northern sympathies and was anti-slavery. During the Civil War, he was offered $50,000 for this land that you are going to see today, which equates to about $1.2 million in today's money. Offered essentially $1.2 million for this land because they wanted to put the Confederate capital here on this land when the Confederates claimed victory. Well, as we know, that did not happen. And Henry Cole, he was a spy for the Union and would fill them in routinely on Confederate plans that he'd heard about, and information that helped them prevail in the war. He was caught doing that somehow. I never learned how he got caught, but he was caught and imprisoned towards the end of the war, but then was released and came back here and had lived in his house that I'm going to show you here in a few minutes, and just lived out the rest of his life here. And he set aside this land. Again, he wanted to set it up as a cemetery for both Confederate and Union soldiers, but Confederate leaders did not want their soldiers to be buried next to Union soldiers, so they declined that offer. So the only graves you will see here in this cemetery from the Civil War are Union veterans. So we thank you, Mr. Cole, for the legacy you left and allowed for our nation and our people of our country to come visit anytime they would like and pay their respects to all that you and many others did and sacrificed in the name of freedom. And here is a picture of Mr. Henry G. Cole, the man who donated this land and is buried in that gravesite that you just saw. Now, just outside the cemetery's entrance, I'm gonna turn and let you see. Here's the entrance. So just outside and across the street over this way, this is Mr. Henry Cole's house that he lived in. He lived in it, he died in it. This is where he was. And this is, from what I've been able to read and learn, I believe this is the only house that is standing in Cobb County, Georgia, from the Atlanta campaign, where Sherman began his march to the sea, where he burned everything around here. I've said in my previous video with the Madison, Georgia, that there aren't any other homes in the state of Georgia left from the Civil War, but this actually is. Misspoke. To my knowledge, I mean, I'm trying to learn all the homes that did survive, but this right here, this was the only, not only the only house, but it was the only structure, period, left standing. If you plan a visit here and you come to visit the Marietta National Cemetery, you'll see this giant structure right here, kind of in the middle on a very prominent hill. I think it's the prominent hill. It's the highest point on this land. And it's big, it's gigantic, it's huge, but there's no markings on it. It's just kind of just here. And many people don't know what it's for, what it is, what it's supposed to be. But if you dig in your history books a little bit deeper, a little bit more, you will find out that Marietta, Georgia was proposed as one of the selections for the capital for the Confederate States of America. And it was later picked that Richmond was going to be the capital of the Confederate States of America. But this place right here, this spot right there, was one of the original proposed spots, and where they were planning to build their Capitol building. So this structure you see here, that was supposed to be where Jefferson Davis and all his cohorts were supposed to meet and make decisions and hold government and everything else. But it didn't work out. Mr. Henry Cole was not going to give that land up or sell that land so easily. So this building never materialized, but they built this monument here as omen or a historical marker of what could have been had history gone in a different direction. So now I'm going to take you on a tour of some of the more prominent figures who were buried here in the Marietta National Cemetery. Lots of famous, what I consider famous and well-known people are buried here in this cemetery. People who had military careers and went on to do other things, and some who were full-time military careers and military people. Some are well-known, some are not well-known, but deserve their stories to be preserved and told. Y'all come on, y'all join me. This is the grave of Ashley Cole McNorrell. She was a major in the United States Army and served over in Iraq. She was a JAG officer, and I believe because she's on the Henry Cole family plot site that she was probably a granddaughter to Mr. Henry Cole. That's why she gets this special and prominent area here in the cemetery. But she was a JAG officer and got deployed to Iraq in January of 2006, I believe it was. And she told a story about how when she was waiting in line to go into the dining hall where she was stationed at in Iraq, that she would have to go by, just a few feet away from where she was standing in line, she'd have to go by a burn pit. Now, for those of you who were in the military, y'all know back before 2010, you could have burn pits where you could burn trash, debris, other discarded items that, you know, soldiers didn't want or had been used up or partially used and didn't need anymore. You just throw it in the burn pit, burn it, and dispose of your trash that way. Well, when you do that, a lot of times you release chemicals into the atmosphere, chemicals into the air. And it took until about 2010 for our lawmakers to realize, hey, that's hazardous. We don't need to be doing that. We don't need to be allowing soldiers to just burn things in burn pits, so let's go ahead and outlaw it. So burn pits was outlawed in 2010 because of the revelation that chemicals and harmful breathing or harmful air and contamination could be released in the air and soldiers would breathe it in. Well, 2010 was a little too late for Ashley. She contracted or was diagnosed with cancer in 2012, and she passed away shortly 2016. She left behind two twin boys, I believe it was. They were 4 years old at the time of her death, and just a tragic story, and just, you know, a story of how our government needs to do better. We need to be a little bit more proactive for the health and well-being of our nation's soldiers, and do our best to protect them, not only just in war, but just in everyday life, and make their living conditions as comfortable as possible, as safe as possible. And Ashley, I know your family loves you and they miss you dearly. God bless you, sweet baby. Here is the final resting place of Mr. Dennis Buckley. Dennis Buckley was a Canadian-born individual, and he volunteered. He joined the New York Volunteer Infantry, the 136th New York Volunteer Infantry, back when the Civil War broke out. It was on July 20th of 1864 at the Battle of Peachtree Creek, just north of here. His unit was chasing after the 31st Mississippi Infantry, and they had them in a full retreat. Now they was pushing them back, had Mississippi in a full retreat. And there's two different versions of the story. One version of the story says that the color bearer for the Mississippi Infantry, the one toting the flag, was unalived by a projectile that struck him in the head, that was propelled from a device with an explosive charge. there you go, YouTube. I cleaned that up as much as I could. Please don't censor me, because I mean, I'm just trying to honor this man. But at any rate, the flag bearer dropped the flag because of that, and that's one story. And when he dropped the flag, Private Buckley went and retrieved the colors of that Mississippi infantry. The other story is that Private Buckley engaged in hand-to-hand combat with the color bearer, and he struck the color bearer, struck the color bearer with the butt end of his musket, and rendered him unalive, and ripped the flag out of the color bearer's hands. Either way, Private Buckley was able to secure the flag of the 31st Mississippi Infantry, and he stood up and was waving the flag proudly, waving, "Hey, I got it, guys." And Private Buckley himself was struck in the head by a projectile fired from a device with an explosive charge. His story was recounted by his fellow soldiers, and he was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor on April the 7th, 1865. And interesting story, this headstone looks kind of new, doesn't it? Looks very different from some of the other men who fought in the Civil War. This is what their headstones look like. His looks remarkably different. Well, there's a reason for that. Originally, he was laid to rest here as Dennis Burkley, Burkley, and those records went unchanged for basically centuries. He did not have the proper Medal of Honor headstone that he deserved, because his name was incorrectly recorded and misspelled. In 2006, the error was finally discovered, and efforts went underway to properly honor this soldier, this brave soldier, with a proper Medal of Honor headstone. So thank you so much, Dennis Buckley, for your service, for your bravery, for your willingness to fight for what you believe in, and to make our nation a better nation. Here is another memorial of Mr. Lee H. Phillips, Medal of Honor recipient from the Korean War. Lee was originally born in Stockbridge, Georgia. I believe he's born and raised there. And he joined the Marines on January 17th, 1948, and went through, about 2 years worth of training, and was shipped over to Korea during the Korean War. Lee found himself in battle at the Chosin Reservoir on November the 4th of 1950. There was a position that really needed to be captured. It was looking bleak for the American forces there, and they really had to take this hill. And so Lee He was a little command leader. He was a corporal, had him a little squadron. And he got his boys together and he led a bayonet charge up that hill, armed with nothing but bayonets. Those boys took on mortar fire, they took on small arms fire, they took on machine gun fire, and you just, I don't have to use beautiful language to picture get a picture in your mind of what that was like. A lot of men lost their lives that day going up that hill, but it had to be taken, it had to be done. And Lee led that group of guys up that hill. By the time they got to that hill, only 5 of his men were left, him and 5 others. But then when they got there, they faced a counterattack where they had to defend that position. And they defended their position with grenades and rifle fire and just would not give up. They kept advancing up that hill, defending it, taking more territory until it was theirs. At the end of that fight, or that portion of the fight, only 3 of his men remained with him. And he was congratulated, did a great job on that, and he survived all of that torment, all of that pain and agony, because I believe he was injured himself. No way anybody could have gone through something like that unscathed, but he went through all of that and survived and lived to tell about it, only to be unalived, as YouTube wants us to say, only to be unalived on November the 27th, just a couple of weeks later, in that same Sojourney Reservoir in a different attack. Now, what is truly sad about that is Lee didn't make it home. Lee's body is still in Korea somewhere in that Sojourney Reservoir. But he was posthumously honored with the Medal of Honor. I believe it was 1954, I think, when a ceremony was held for him. He was a good Marine, a real good Marine, good boy, only 20 years old, who bravely gave his life so that we can enjoy the things we enjoy in this country. We can protest if we want to. We can vote if we want to. We can run for office if we want to. We can open a business if we want to. We can go to school if we want to. If we want to change careers, we can do that. And it's all because of men like Lee here. God bless you, Lee. Thank you for your service. This is the grave site of Frank Simmons Leavitt. Frank Simmons Leavitt was born in New York City in 1891. Now you look here, it says June 30th, 1889. Well, what he did was he lied about his age so that he could enlist in the Army, and not be counted out because of age. He was from New York City and was served in World War I and World War II. Now, what's interesting about Mr. Frank Leavitt is he, after World War I, he was trying to find his place in this world, and he was a huge man, big man, and he played for one season in the I think it's called the American Football Association or something like that, but it's what the NFL is today. In 1921, he played for the New York Brickley Giants, which they were in existence only one season in 1921. Didn't do too bad. I can't remember. I think it was 6 wins, 4 losses, and 7 ties, something like that. I mean, I don't know how you get 7 ties in a season, but they sure did. But at any rate, Mr. Leavitt here played that professional football season, and again, we're just trying to find his place in this world. And he's like, what can I do? What can I do? And it just hit him. I could be a professional wrestler. And Mr. Frank Simmons Leavitt became Soldier Leavitt. He then became the ring name of Hell's Kitchen Bill Bill. Then he went by the ring name of Stone Mountain, and finally settled on the moniker for which he is known the most for, and that is Man Mountain Dean. And so he wrestled until about 1937. Some stories say that he wrestled over 500 wrestling matches. Some say he wrestled over 6,700 matches. But he wrestled till about 1937, and again took some time off and kind of was on again, off again, and finally, I think, retired from professional wrestling sometime around 1940. He was in movies. He was in several golden age Hollywood movies. He did a lot of things. I mean, he was an entertainer, and used his size as a big man to make a name for himself. He also trained soldiers during World War II. He re-enlisted back into the Army and trained soldiers how to fight and do combat and things of that nature. So we owe a lot of gratitude to Mr. Frank Simmons Leavitt. Rest easy, my man. Rest easy, big man. God bless you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for all you did for our nation. So this is a grave site, final resting place of Mr. Jack Warner Peterson. Now, he's not anyone famous, but we do appreciate him for his service and what he did for our nation in World War II and the Korean War. But we want to say a special thank you to his wife, who's on the other side. This is the final resting place of Miss Betty Mae Crane Peterson, his wife. Betty Mae, she married Jack sometime after 1940. I'm not sure when Jack and Betty got married, but Betty was married to a young man who was also in the service, and he passed away in 1940, and she sometime later met Mr. Jack. But Betty Mae is the feature of this part of the video, because Betty Mae, born 1917 out of Salt Lake City, Utah, she had a twin sister named Beverly. And together, Betty May and Beverly, they would introduce a lot of the old Hal Roach comedy shorts from back in the 1930s. Laurel and Hardy, the Little Rascals, and just many other different comedy shorts of that time. It was common to have a narrator come out and introduce the act that you were going to see, and it would tell who the director is, who the stars were, who maybe wrote the comedy sketch, and they would do a little introduction and say, thank you, enjoy, or I hope you like this presentation, or what have you. And so Betty May and her sister Beverly, they would do those introductions for Hal Roach. She and her sister also would go on to do some like Chesterfield cigarette ads. If y'all remember them old Chesterfield cigarettes that was real popular back in the old days. They did some of the Chesterfield cigarette ads, and they also did some dance routines and musicals. So she was a very talented lady and a loving wife. Just a wonderful, wonderful lady from what I've been able to read about her, Miss Betty May Crane Peterson. Thank you, Miss Betty, for the laughter and the joy that you brought in that golden age of Hollywood back in the 30s and 40s, and we just appreciate you. They was even doing shows in the 20s too, I think. That might have been a little too soon. I think it was about 14 when they first started, so I'd put them in the 1930s. So thank you so much for what you brought to this world. We just appreciate you. Thank you, Betty May. Rest easy. Rest in peace. Here's the final resting place of Brigadier General David Hunter Kinsey. This man saw probably more action in the Civil War than anybody I have ever read about. Originally born in 1841, he was from Chicago, and he enlisted into the Army May the 14th of 1861. So he was just over the age of 20 years old. He was an artillery artillery officer. I think that's what they were called, or field artillery officer. And basically what that is you are in charge of you're in charge of all the cannons, the heavy field artillery that you must fire on your enemy to push them back, to help your foot soldiers, your troops to advance, gain territory. You have to be in charge of positioning your cannons and your big field guns to make sure you keep the advantages that you win, and to make sure you're steadily gaining on your opponent. And that's what he did. That's what he was in charge of, and that's what he was instructed to do. These are all the battles that I can confirm this man fought in, was shot at, was, battled through, and what he lived through. He fought in the 7 Days battles. He fought at the Second Battle of Bull Run. He fought at the Battle of Antietam. fought at the Battle of Fredericksburg. He fought at Chancellorsville. He fought in Gettysburg. He fought at the Battle for Chattanooga. And he fought in the Atlanta campaign. This man, I mean, this man saw a lot. This man went through a lot. And he lived to tell the tale. He, after the Civil War, he had a couple of posts. He kind of moved around the country, different posts, different positions, and all told, he spent 42 years in the United States Army. He retired on August 11th, 1903. And as you can see, it was a very short-lived retirement, only about 11 months, you know, just shy of 11 months before he succumbed to a stroke and passed away. Brigadier General Kinsey, thank you for your service. The stories that you've left behind, maybe you wrote some of them down, I don't know. It'd be interesting to go in some of our libraries in our country and try to research your story a little more and find out what you saw, what you did, what you endured, all in the name of freedom and bringing our country back together. We thank you. We thank you so much for your sacrifice. Here lies John Clark, who was the 31st governor of the state of Georgia, 1819 to 1823. But before that, he was a veteran, right there, of the War of 1812. That's his placard right there for that. And even before that, he was, you can't see it because of the flowers. I don't want to disturb the flowers, but that right there is a placard to signify his veteran status of the American Revolutionary War. He is a Revolutionary War veteran and a veteran of the War of 1812. So John Clark, 31st governor of the state of Georgia. He was a planter, he was a politician, and he was a slave owner. While he was governor, he became embroiled in a rather famous Supreme Court case. It's called the Ex parte Madrazo, which was basically a case that involved this Spaniard named Juan Madrazo, and he had a slave ship. And that slave ship was captured and sold to a man named William Bowen. Now, William Bowen took the ship and then he got captured here in the state of Georgia. I guess probably somewhere around Savannah. And his ship was commandeered and all the supplies were taken, including the slaves. And John Clark, he was governor at the time, he sold some of the slaves, and some of the slaves, the others that he did not sell, he kept for himself. Juan Madrazo finally caught wind of all this, and he tried to sue John Clark for the rights to get his slaves back. And John Clark, being the learned man that he was, he cited the 11th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which protects the states of the United States from lawsuits from other states and other foreign countries and other foreigners. Like if you're a foreigner, you can't sue the state of Georgia for something. If you are a foreign country, you can't sue the state of Georgia for, whatever reason. And other states like South Carolina can't come over and sue Georgia for some reason. All of that is unconstitutional. And his thinking was, well, your lawsuit has no basis because it's not allowed in our country. It's not constitutional. So it took about 10 years to resolve. It got resolved in 1833, which was about 4 months, or February of 1833, which was about 4 months after the date that he passed away in October of 1832. But going back to his life, after he left the gubernatorialship of Georgia, his old buddy from the War of 1812, Andrew Jackson, was president, and he hired John Clark on as a federal Indian agent, and he went on down to Florida to look over forests and serve as that federal Indian agent down in the state of Florida. And it specifically was in the area of St. Andrews, Florida. Well, he passed away in 1832 and was laid to rest there. In 1923, I believe it was, the Daughters of the American Revolution decided, the Georgia chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, I believe it was, decided that his body needed to be exhumed from Florida and brought to Georgia and laid to rest in his home state. Even though John Clark, I think he was born in North Carolina, I believe when he was a boy, moved to Milledgeville, I believe it was. History's a little sketchy right now with me. I can't keep all my facts straight. So that's the story of John Clark. And I guess during the move to Florida, his headstone got lost. He had a big tall obelisk down in Florida, and the only record I could find was it got lost. So I don't know if they lost it between here and Florida, or between Florida and here, or if it broke and they just throwed it away, or what. So that's the story of Mr. John Clark. Appreciate your service, Mr. Clark. Thank you so much. You were on the right side of history on a lot of things, but other side of history, not so much. But no man was perfect. No man is perfect. No man will ever be perfect. And you just did what you thought was right, and that's pretty admirable and pretty honorable. Rest in peace. This one's a little hard to see. Let's see, I'll zoom it in. This is the final resting place of William Beaufort Fields. He was a commander, United States Navy, Korean War veteran, Vietnam veteran, and also an Olympic gold medalist. That's right, folks, an Olympic gold medalist. Mr. Fields, he was born in Forsyth, Georgia, 1929. And I can't really find much about his childhood and, all that kind of stuff. But I do know in 1952, he and 7 of his rowing teammates, they were in the 8-man, they call it 8-man coxswain or 8-man cox boat. I'm not a big rowing fan, so I don't claim to know a lot of that terminology, but I've watched a few races. My nieces, they are rowing champions, and but I do know he was in the 8-man boat, and he was in the number 2 seat, and they went up against the Soviet Union and the Australian team in the 1952 Olympics, and Mr. Fields and his teammates, they brought home the gold that year. After that, 2 years after that, actually, 2 years after the 52 Olympics, he entered the Naval Academy in 1954. And, well, yeah, I think he entered it. No, he graduated in 54, I'm sorry. He graduated in 54, so that means he was probably already in the Navy at the time of the Olympics. I'm sorry, I don't have my facts straight on that. I apologize. But in 1954, he graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy and served in the Korean and Vietnam War. And he retired as a commander in 1977. He was just living the quiet, retired life. And he caught wind that the Olympics was coming to Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, in 1996. And the community knew him as an Olympic rowing champion, and they were like, man, you know, where can we have this? You know, what are we gonna do? I guess we're gonna have to, you know, dredge out a new river. We're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to build a lake. We're gonna have to do that. And he said, what are y'all talking about? What in the world are y'all talking about? You have the finest rowing area in the world right outside my front door at Lake Lanier off of Clark's Bridge Road. Y'all go out there and take a look at Lake Lanier. Give that a shot. And buddy, he started talking to Billy Payne and all them organizers of the Olympics, and he was a key figure in getting the Olympic rowing competition brought to Lake Lanier for the 1996 Olympics. Sadly, as you see, he died in 1992. He did not live long enough to see that come to fruition. But his beautiful, beautiful wife, Kitty, I'm not sure if she's still living or not, but she was alive when the Olympics did come to Lake Lanier. And she got to see Mr. Fields' dream come true. And she actually hosted several of the Olympic teams at her house on Lake Lanier. Just a wonderful testament to a life well lived, a champion in sports, a champion in life. Thank you so much, Mr. William Fields. God bless you, brother. God bless you. Thank you so much for what you did for our country. And before I leave, it's getting close to 5 o'clock when they start closing the cemetery. I gotta stop off and pay respects to this beautiful soul right here, Miss Emma Stevenson. Emma Stevenson was born a slave in Kentucky. She earned her freedom and enlisted with, I believe it was the New York 17th Infantry as a volunteer field nurse. She somehow, you know, found her way down here to Georgia and was a field nurse in the city of Marietta, just up the road from the cemetery, or the city where the cemetery is located, at the field hospital, which is known as the Kennesaw House and today as the Marietta History Museum. There was a soldier named Asa Sopper who wrote a letter home to his mother talking about Miss Stevenson. And he told his mama that, you know, we have a slave nurse here taking care of us. And her kindness and treatment is just so tender and just so wonderful to us. And it's just, just a beautiful, 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 beautiful story of someone not necessarily a soldier, but doing her part to help our nation heal, to help our nation come together, to take care of those who were wounded and fighting for the very freedom that she wanted for her people and the freedom that she wanted for all people. And we just thank you so much, Miss Emma. You are known in our history books. My daughter has studied about you and learned about you, and we thank you for your service. We really appreciate you for all you did for so many of these soldiers who are out here buried with you that you took care of. Whew, as you can see, there's so many just interesting people that led some pretty incredible lives, saw some amazing things, saw some horrific things that are buried and honored in that cemetery. Guys are 20 years old that gave their lives for this country. We got guys that, fought in not one war, but 2 wars. Guys that served our nation at the very beginning when all this was coming together. I was blown away today by that visit, and I hope you were too. So, as always, tell me what you think down in the comments. What y'all think of that cemetery? Is that someplace that you would like to come visit? Is there a cemetery near where you live that you maybe are inclined to explore a little bit further? Just let me know down in the comments. As always, folks, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. Till next time, y'all take care now. Have a good one. Bye.